Now it's time for some Dynasty running back rankings. We've got our running back guru, way too major, double F, Major Caldwell, coming in strong. We're going to talk to you about his top 12. We might even go deeper. Who knows? We got 20 running backs ranked on each side. We'll see where the night takes us here. It's still young. But if you want to get more running back rankings, more projections, more analysis, head over to fantasypoints.com. Hey, you want to save money? You can do it right now too. 30% off that subscription early bird special. I think that's going right up to the Super Bowl. Get that now while the getting is good. And I'll tell you what, you read some of these articles that are getting pumped out each and every week. Graham Barfield, Joe Dolan, John Hansen. I mean, Wes Hubert. Wes Hubert has some of my favorite articles each and every week when he talks about his game hubs. You got to head over there. I mean, you will not be disappointed. Tell them Matt Donnelly sent you. Tell them the Vipers sent you. And make sure to check out every Sunday because Major Caldwell, Nick Script, they're coming strong with the Fantasy Points show there every Sunday morning. That said, Major, number one running back. I don't think there's going to be an issue. We'll skip everything else. Jonathan Taylor is the top Dynasty asset at the running back position. I've got him number one. You've got him number one. There's really no debating on this. This is basically, though, where our list stops when we talk about comparing each other here. So, I mean, Jonathan Taylor, is there any reason for him not to be number one?
No. Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. I mean, he's going to be the running back one. He's probably going to be the number one player drafted in all these redraft fantasy or startup dynasty leagues this year. So yeah, I don't think anything can stop or anyone can overtake him this year. So that's the number one.
I mean, a season is not made in 4 weeks. If the season was only 4 weeks long, okay, maybe Jonathan Taylor is not the top running back because it takes him 4 weeks to get going. But when he gets going, 20 touchdowns this season, 20 touchdowns. Austin Eckler, hey, you know what? Kudos. Austin Eckler put up 20 this year as well. But Jonathan Taylor was next level with what he could do on the ground. I mean, there's no debate. But where we're going to start getting into a fist fight here is when we move on to number two, number three, number four. I mean, the next time we actually agree on a player, maybe number 19 with David Montgomery. Okay.
True.
That's when our next agreement actually takes place. But Major, who's that number two running back for you?
How you want to ping pong? You want to go back and forth, or you want to just run the list?
Well, you know what? Just run your list here. Let's go. Give me one, two. Let's go five. Give me your top five off the get go here.
Got you. So my top five, I'm gonna go Jonathan Taylor. I'm gonna go Joe Mixon. To me, he's another player that people don't talk about. He's still young. He's only 25 years old, and that Bengals team is they have the momentum. That team's exciting. You have the three best wide receivers in the game on one team. You're going to have open lanes to run. So Joe Mixon's going to have a way easier path to yardage than he did in the beginning of his career, where he was just getting beat up because they had nothing else. Number three, I'm going Cam Akers. That again, I was high on him before the injury in the offseason. It really hurt me because I went out and grabbed him in every league. But seeing how he came back so fast, we spoke about it before. I'm not going to go too much further into that. Javonte Williams, to me, is going to have a monster year, being the only running back in that backfield. You've seen what he did when he had to split time with a veteran, and I think he really looked up to Gordon. So I think he let Gordon be that like alpha out the backfield. But when he got in the game, all he did was highlights. The guy's running over people, making people miss. He's just one of those running backs that I think is going to kill. And if they can get a quarterback in that system, they have three receivers there who people should fear. So it's going to be a lot of open lanes there. And then I'm going to round out my top five with Najee Harris. He, to me, is Derrick Henry, but can catch the ball. So it's going to be harder for him, like Matt mentioned earlier in the show, without having a quarterback there is going to be hard, kind of like how Joe Mixon started his career. But I think Najee, if he's not going to have a ton of rushing yards, he will produce for you in the receiving game. So look for a lot of check downs from him, whatever quarterback is listed there. That's my top five. Who you got, Matt?
I'll let you keep going here in a second, but I'm just going to comment on where I see kind of things play out there. Joe Mixon, love the talent, 25 years old, running back. I think the best is still yet to come from him. Cam Akers at number 3, still a little too rich for my blood. I mean, I've got him a lot further down my list. I still want to see how he fully recovers from this. I mean, I don't want to jump the gun here on one game of him having success because maybe there's some fatigue. Maybe there's a higher risk of injury. I'm no doctor. I don't know this. I usually let Edwin talk about that kind of stuff over at Fantasy Points there when it comes to medical type stuff. But I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express once, so I feel pretty comfortable in my injury analysis as well. Javonte Williams, I mean, tough to argue him there at number 4. I've got him a little bit lower, but I've still got him within that same range. Najee Harris, again, same thing. I've got him right around that same range as well. So I really like where you've got him there in place. I mean, offensive line, quarterback, huge flag still going forward, but I think the talent wins out in the end. Now, give me 6 through 12.
So I'm going with like one of my guys. Like I'm an Antonio Gibson stan. Like again, it's really what's the quarterback going to do? Like it's really hard to play running back when you're running against 11 in the box. So if they can get a quarterback to back some of these people up, you have Scary Terry out there so defense should double team him. So that should take some people out the box, but there's no threat there because the quarterback cannot get the ball on a consistent basis to the receivers. The next, I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift. I'm not a huge fan of Swift, but I do like his running style. The guy can catch the ball, run a ball, very explosive. He's going to have a lot of opportunity in Detroit. And I kind of like what they're doing there. They can get another receiver in there. I kind of like what Goff did. Goff wasn't too bad this year. So let's give a little love to Goff. I think he's going to get that team going in the right direction. I think they found a receiver in St. Brown. And then again, my list is typically going to be younger guys. But one of the older guys, probably one of the oldest ones, the first ones here, I'm gonna go with Nick Chubb. To me, he like running back wise, he may be the best running back with the power, the speed, the receiving. The injury is starting to look they're starting to hit him a little bit, so keep an eye on that. But Chubb to me is one of the most well-rounded running backs in the game. And then you got to go Austin Eckler again. He gets no respect. All he do is puts up numbers, 20 touchdowns in a season, receiving, rushing. The guy will make it happen for you every single time. Derrick Henry, again, he's an older guy, but I've seen some of his off-season workout videos. He's going to be all right. Being at 28, I think he's going to be the Tom Brady of running backs. He's going to last at least until he's 30, maybe 31, and if he's lucky 32. He was one of those guys who the guy's 250 pounds running a rock. So it's a linebacker at running back. He's going to be able to sustain any of this, the workload, and hopefully they can lessen that workload. Start throwing the ball a little bit more with Tannehill and those monster receivers they have out there. And I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook. He's one of those players. Injuries the only thing that can stop him. There's going to be some question marks there in Minnesota with that quarterback situation as well. But you have Justin Jefferson there again. I think the receivers are running back's best friend because they get those guys out the box. And I'm going to round out that top 12 with Alvin Kamara, Konami Code, the guy run the ball, receive the ball. But again, question mark at the quarterback position. If they can get that stuff solidified, I think he can get back to being one of those top 5 running backs. So he's one of those guys who can move the board quickly. Is that
it?
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at your list here, and you know what? We're close together. A lot of things are different. I'm going to break down my top 12 here, and it starts with Jonathan Taylor right off the get-go. And I like to work in 3-year kind of commitments here when I talk about my dynasty, because I really think the running back shelf life is 5 years for a high-end running back. There's nothing guaranteed after that 5th year, because that's usually when that 5th-year option gets exercised. And I talk about free agency. Once they get that big payday, it seems there's a bit of dip in production, whether that's just the nature of the business there at that running back position. But for me, Number 2 is still going to be Christian McCaffrey, right? I know he's 25. I know he's battled some injuries. I still think he's a high-end asset for the next 3 years. I mean, he's still the number 2 running back for me for the next 3 years. That puts him at 28. That puts him right where we're talking about Derrick Henry. Now, at number 3, I want to get young because I got him a lot higher than what you've got him. I mean, when I say a lot higher, 3 to 7, DeAndre Swift. I don't think there's nothing that this cat can't do out there. I mean, he can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He doesn't necessarily need wide receiver, doesn't necessarily need a quarterback. I mean, they've got St. Brown now established, and I can almost guarantee you Detroit is going to go out there and get themselves a good wide receiver. Maybe an Allen Robinson type wide receiver in the offseason. Who knows? But that should free things up for DeAndre Swift. I mean, he's faced stacked boxes time and time again. His real value comes in the passing game, not as much as a runner. PPR, DeAndre Swift, way up there for me. Number 4, Najee Harris. You talked about it right now. I mean, if this team can get a quarterback and an offensive line back in, if they can get all that, that's nothing major. We're not asking for a whole lot, just 6 more players. Then Najee Harris could have a lot of success out there. We've seen what he could do this year with that line. If that line can improve at all, bigger and better things are to come for him. And for me at number 5, I'm still going with an oldie here. He's still 26. Unlike you, I'm not an ageist when it comes to my running backs. It's Dalvin Cook, because I believe Dalvin Cook is a different dog altogether here, just like Derrick Henry, just like Christian McCaffrey. They may be getting a little bit older. Austin Eckler, he's 26 as well. Nick Chubb, 26. I think 26 is still good. 26 to 28, 29. Once they hit that 29, that's when they start to drop off on my list. So right now, 26, I'm still comfortable putting him there in the top 5. Now, at number 6, Javonte Williams. You had him at number 4. I'm not going to argue with that because I think Javonte Williams is a fantastic back. I think that's right where he needs to be. He needs to be in that 4 to 6 range. And at number 7,
only 21 years old too. He's only 21. That's a big plus for him.
Oh, absolutely. He's got a lot of football ahead of him. He got a good 800-yard start on every other running back his age typically does. At number 7, Alvin Kamara. Again, 26-year-old running back, does it all. He's about a quarterback away from having a lot more success with the Saints. Give me Nick Chubb at number 8. Joe Mixon, he's my biggest drop-off compared to you. I got him down at number 9. Now, it's not quite the Christian McCaffrey type drop-off between us where you got Christian McCaffrey, but, I mean, Joe Mixon, no disrespect to him, 25 years old. I think number 9 is pretty comfortable where he is. At number 10, Austin Eckler. Man, I love what Austin Eckler can do. 20 touchdowns. We just talked about it. What he can do in the passing game, what he can do in the running game. I mean, he can't catch 1,400 yards like as a running back like Deebo Samuel can, but you know what? He had a pretty successful season pass catching. Now, Antonio Gibson's at number 11, and J.K. Dobbins, I've got him up at number 12. I told you in that roster, that running back watch list, go get yourself some J.K. Dobbins. I mean it. I really think a healthy J.K. Dobbins, who led the league the season previous in yards per carry, is going to do it again next year. I think it's an ACL. We talked about this. This is an injury that can be overcome. Yeah. I think J.K. Dobbins having that ACL injury at a young age is good for him because guess what? He's only 23 and he had a whole season already. He had that injury like right before the season began. He is going to be 100% come ETA or whatever you want to call it. Before training camp kicks off, J.K. Dobbins is going to be 100%. He's probably close to 100% right now. Let's be honest. What are your thoughts on that top 12?
I'm with you. Again, I like Antonio Gibson a little bit more than you do, and that Christian McCaffrey is the one that just like I can't put him in the top 5 anymore. Like 2 years in a row, he burnt me like two seasons in a row. So I'm out on Christian McCaffrey at this point. Yeah, I do hope he's gets it back together, and if he does, I think he's going to be excellent. But I have him coming into this next section if we hit that.
Oh, we're going to hit it. Absolutely, we're going to hit it. For me, Christian McCaffrey is that rare guy that I've got him ranked number 2, but I'm not going to draft him in startups. I'm not going to have a pick that high to begin with where I'm going to feel comfortable taking him with the number 2 pick because we talked about it. The injury concerns are there, but the talent is there as well.
Absolutely.
If he is healthy, he is even better for fantasy than Jonathan Taylor. He is basically a top 15 wide receiver and a top 3 running back rolled up into one. when
But
healthy.
with Chuba Hubbard there, I think moving forward, he's not going to have that much opportunity with Chuba there. I
Well, just
think he earned it. Chuba earned the right to some more timeshare there.
well, just wait till Christian McCaffrey ends up in Houston. Then we're having a different conversation altogether.
That would be pretty cool.
Anything else there in the top 12 that kind of catches your eyes? I know J.K. Dobbins is a little bit higher on my list than on your list. We know Joe Mixon, there's a little bit of a differential there as well as far as your list to mine. But
Yeah,
now
I
let's
think
get
that's
into
it.
that 13 through 20 range, because this is where you're looking for that running back two. Who is that running back two that could possibly give you RB1 type numbers in Dynasty moving forward? We know who could possibly do it in redraft. Well, no, not really, because the guys that we typically believe are going to do it in redraft don't, and the guys that we don't believe in, Josh Jacobs, end up doing it. So for you, whip off that 13 through 20 here for everyone listening.
So I'm gonna go with the person we just spoke about, Christian McCaffrey, and what you said to intro this section is 100% true. To me, at this point, I have him at a RB2 only because of the injuries, but he has the opportunity to be RB1. So I'm kind of down on him right now, but he has the talent, and the coaching staff, they love him. They give him the ball every play. I think that's the thing that's getting him hurt. So I think they need to figure that out. But I think Chris McCaffrey has a chance to get back to that top 3 status. Another one due to injuries, I'm going Saquon Barkley here. Like you're mentioning with Najee Harris with the offensive line, the quarterback, and everything else, they need a lot of help out there in New York. So if they can fix some of this stuff, and I don't think he needs too much help. I just think he needs to get a decent line, and once he has that thing, Barkley get back to where he was. And then I'm gonna go Josh Jacobs here. I was kind of out on Josh Jacobs, but I this little playoff run, he looked pretty good. I like. I don't know if it was a coaching thing. The coach left, and all of a sudden he's back to being a Josh Jacobs we all fell in love with during the draft. Um, so I think if he can continue to that momentum he got from these last few games here, I think he's going to be all right there in Vegas. Then we're going to Elijah Mitchell. Like I mentioned earlier, this is one of the running backs that I got wrong. I said I don't get running backs wrong, but I didn't like his style. In college to me, this is like a straight line runner. He looked for contact and fell pretty much, but he ran hard. I like that about him. But now he's shifty. He's like he's a totally different running back than what I scouted from college. And then I'm going to bring in the guy that Matt ended his list with on the top 12. I'm going to bring in J.K. Dobbins. Again, he's one of those guys that people tend to forget because he got hurt so early in the season. But only reason I haven't ranked this low is because your quarterback is probably the best running back on that team. I think they're going to start passing a little bit more now that they have like Bateman. So I don't think he's going to have as much opportunity. And Gus the Buzz back there is pretty good running back himself. So I think they're going to share that, share that workload back there. This next one, I kind of cheated a little bit. I had to add my guy, Dre Stevenson in there. But the way we all know Belichick and what he does with running backs, and I don't know why he hates running backs, even with the jersey numbers. He doesn't even let the running backs choose their own numbers. He gives you the number. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but Harris is 37 and Ramondre is 38. No running back ever in the history wanted those two numbers. Those are the ugliest numbers in the history of running backs. So, Ramondre is number 29. I think Harris was like, what was he like number? I think he had a single digit. So they get no respect there. So I kind of clumped them together and I went Ramondre Harris because those two are going to be joined at the hip in that offense. And then I'm going to go with Devin Montgomery. I mentioned before, I'm not the biggest fan of his style, but he produces. And I think if they can get some stuff situated there in that, with the quarterback, actually not even a quarterback, they need some receivers. They need some receivers to come in there and kind of pull some people out the box there. And then I'm going to go with a running back who kind of like Josh Jacobs kind of little rebirth in his playoff run. I'm going Devin Singletary. Like, he's running the ball like a real running back. I love his style. Like, he's shifty. He's making you miss. He's running with power. Even at 5'7", he's running with power. Um, I think once the Bills kind of like, hey, we do have a running back here. Let's stop making our quarterback the best running back on the team. And he's showing that running back that we all kind of fell in love with as a sleeper in that draft a couple years ago. So that's I know I left out a lot of people like Aaron Jones. I'm big on him. I'm big on both of those running backs in Green Bay. But just age and opportunity and timeshare to me is gonna weigh in on them. Zeke Elliott got left off of mine. I think he's on that downhill that we were talking about. Who else I left off? I like Chris Carson. It's a lot of people I left off. There's a lot of running backs out there. But again, I typically like to go young with my running back list and sprinkle in a couple of the guys who are still on that on the acceleration part of that bell. They're not coming down yet. So yeah, I think that's it. What you think, Matt? You mute, buddy.
We mentioned Aaron Jones. He's not on that list of yours either. He's another one of those guys that you can make an argument for as well. For me, Derrick Henry is that guy who drops off somewhat for me. I mean, 28 is kind of that peak we talked about there. So I've got him at 13, much like you have Christian McCaffrey. Same reason. It's not saying that Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry won't be RB1 and RB2 next year or the year after. It's just there are some concerns that we both have, reason why we've got him a little bit down for Dynasty. We're talking about a 3-4 year period here. Now,
Right.
At 14, agree with you 100%. I got Saquon Barkley right there. Maybe a change of coach and all of that other stuff. He is still coming back from an injury. You've mentioned this on a few shows already, that it's going to probably take a little bit of time. And I think going into next year, he should be 100%, so to speak. That ankle injury really bothered him for much of the season. Now here we switch back and forth. I have Elijah Mitchell ahead of Josh Jacobs. You have Josh Jacobs ahead of Elijah Mitchell. We've got them right there with each other.
Yeah.
Man, is Josh Jacobs, he gets no respect either. We talk about Chris Carson getting no respect. Josh Jacobs is the same guy where he gets no respect when it comes to fantasy. And at the end of the year, he's still right there at RB12, RB13 when it's all said and done. Again, redraft, I've got him a little bit higher. Dynasty, a little bit lower because who knows what tomorrow brings? Who knows what Kenyon Drake means next season with a new offensive coordinator? They're changing everything in Vegas right now, so we don't know what it's going to look like there. I got Cam Akers here down at 17 where you've got him at 3. This is probably the biggest gap of them all, and It's not a knock on Akers and his ability. It's all about I want to see a little bit more. I've got no problem moving him up. I want to move him up, but I want to see a little bit more how he's recovered from that Achilles. And then at number 18, I've got Ezekiel Elliott. Now, he just missed your top 20. He's probably in that 21, 22, 23 range for you right now.
Yep.
So I've got him sitting there at number 18. I think that PCL injury that he had this year did affect him somewhat. I don't think he's as good as we thought he was going into the season. I am certainly not taking him in the first 2 rounds of a draft. For me, he has a 3rd round potential. When we talk, even talking redraft, I may take a chance at him in the 3rd round, but I want to make sure I have myself a solid RB1 before I do that. And then for me at number 19, right with you in lockstep here, David Montgomery. Another one of those guys that gets no respect. Last year, I think he was the season before this last one, I think he was RB12 or RB. He was way up there. He was like RB6 or something or whatever number was. He put another decent season here together. Lots of moving heads there again in Chicago there. Matt Nagy out. We'll see what kind of dynamic the new head coach can bring in. Justin Fields, Darnell Mooney, David Montgomery. That's kind of the core for this Bears team moving forward. And then at number 20, another older running back. I could have gone with a Chris Carson. I could have gone Devin Singletary. I could have maybe gone with No, I couldn't have done that. I just couldn't do it. I went with Aaron Jones because he is still doing it for the Green Bay Packers. Yes, A.J. Dillon is going to continue to get a little bit more action in there. But, hey, the Packers may be the most balanced team when it comes to run-pass ratio in the National Football League. Aaron Jones is still going to be a factor moving forward, not only this year, but 2-3 seasons down the road. I think he's going to be one of those running backs that can play until he's 29, 30 years old because of his pass catching ability. We've watched guys, Gio Bernard stick around, James White stick around because of their ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Even if there's a bit of a decline in his running game, where maybe A.J. Dillon takes over a little bit more, he is still going to factor in the passing game. It's still what it's going to be. If Aaron Rodgers is still a Green Bay Packer, Aaron Jones still has top RB2 production left in him, regardless of the situation. As long as Aaron Rodgers is there, Aaron Jones is going to be there as well. Now, we talked about this rookie class: Isaiah Spiller, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Kieran Williams, James Cook, Hassan Haskins. I even mentioned Rachaad White here. Who is the running back or running backs that could crack your top 20 as soon as next year?
Again, I'm going to go with Breece, and I think it based solely off his landing spot. If he could get into one of these teams who run his own scheme, which he runs at Iowa State, he will provide some dividends early. And I'm looking at spots like Miami. We talked about Chris Carson and Penny out of Seattle. If he can get in Seattle, or even if he can get into Atlanta, I think he could get you dividends right away. But running backs is kind of hard for this question, because I think it'll be someone we're not even thinking about, like Elijah Mitchell. There's going to be some guy in the draft that comes out of nowhere, and we're like, oh, he's the top 20 back out of all the people we spent all this draft capital on. So, yeah, running backs is one of those that's the hardest one to answer this question. But Breece is the one for me.
Yeah, and I look at this here. There's potential. There is 15 to 20 potential here. Isaiah Spiller, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker has that potential, right? Kieran Williams has that potential. I think if we're looking for that, I mentioned him in when we talk about the running backs watch list on Rachaad White. He has that potential because of what he can do in space as a pass catcher. He is so dynamic. His biggest flaw is he runs upright, which typically is not good for a running back, right? But maybe they kind of split him out as a running back. Maybe he turns into the next Deebo Samuel type player. I don't know. Because we know one thing about the National Football League. It is a copycat league. Yep. We are going to find teams right now looking up and down their rosters, talking to their college scouting directors. Who is that next Deebo Samuel? Who is that next guy who can catch 1,000 yards and run for 800? Who is that going to be? Maybe it is Rachaad White, and maybe we're talking about him as that guy. Cordell Patterson is that guy in Atlanta. We saw that. We see how the Falcons use him. And Deebo Samuel kind of came. Copycat league, National Football League. Who is going to be that next guy that does what we are all looking for here? I don't know who it is. I don't know if this draft class has that person. But, I mean, we know the teams are going to look for it. There's no question in my mind. And we are going to see players be used in that similar role. Now, will they have success? Probably not. Deebo Samuel's a special dude. Cordell Patterson is special. These are special players that can do what they're doing. I don't know if there's someone that can fill that role moving forward, but you know what? Teams are going to try. It's that simple. Now, Major, let everyone know one more time where to find you.
Yeah, every Sunday, Fantasy Points, Extra Point Show with my guy Nick Strip. We talk player props. We talk Monkey Knife Fight and Thrive Fantasy. Our partner apps there.
Go bad.
I am sleepy, but yeah. So yeah, catch me Sundays doing that show. And we right now think we're on a pause with the playoffs and everything, but we'll be coming back soon with more content for you guys.
Well, you know who's not on a pause right now? That's cranking out stuff here with Fantasy Points. This guy right here. If you're listening to me on an audio version, I've got both my thumbs pointing right at me right now. Hey, head over to the Vipers Network. I've got the game day previews that you're looking for. I am going to break down the Bengals and the Titans. I'm going to break down the Bills and the Chiefs. I'm going to talk Packers, 49ers, and I am going to talk about the Bucks and the Rams. I'm going to give you an inside look, some analysis there, some data, and you know what? I'm going to bring a lot of that information over from fantasypoints.com because I have my subscription, and you should go get yours too, and you can get it for 30% off right now. So head over to fantasypoints.com, and with that being said, we will see you next week. Take care now.